Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the WGLEU Season 2 for 2015 and 2016. And we are already, believe it or not, down to our last game of the night. It's going to be Utopia versus Out of Range, and what does promise to be a very interesting game. And I feel like this is a great touch point to see where these two teams are at now, heading halfway into the season.
Yeah, I think so as well. Just to see how these kind of similar teams who've undoubtedly played with each other, against each other, for each other's teams, against each other's teams throughout the long history that most of them have. Obviously, we saw Rusty Roster best Utopia recently. So I guess this is really to say, you know, which is the best Polish team, but also it's been back and forward, so we don't really know yet. I don't think we really know until match day 8, match day 9, or even towards the end of the season. But I think it promises to be a great matchup, as Out of Range has got a lot of aspirations to be a top-performing team.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, no one has more aspirations inside that team than their captain, Carmen, who definitely, a motivated player, been around the scene for a long time and has a good understanding of the game. But one problem that he's mentioned a few times when it comes to his team is just inexperience in general. I mean, there's only so much that you can do, I think, as a captain or caller for a team, in terms of when, the rubber hits the road and you're in game and, it's the poo is starting to hit the fan, as they sort of put it. So
no one puts it like that,
really?
Apart from you. No.
You never heard that?
The shit hits the fan, mate.
Yeah, but obviously I'm not going to say that on stream because I'm professional.
There's no point saying it then.
Oh, I'm using the less vulgar term for it.
Yeah, but it's just a saying,
I'm a sugarcoater, what can I say?
No.
But yeah, seriously, like when that happens, we see a lot of teams like Rocks just manage to get it done because on an individual level, they manage to find that coordination. They already know what they have to do. When you're sort of, lacking experience, you're going to encounter a multitude of different scenarios in which you don't actually have the answer for, or you don't all instinctively know what you need to do on a personal level. So that might be something here for Out of Range. And, Utopia are, by contrast, a very seasoned lineup of players here as well. I mean, your Bishus and Shukyu, Papa as well. Last season was quite prolific. So all these guys have definitely been around the block a few times, and I think experience is a big part of things here as well. So to overcome that, I'd say Out of Range need to execute some pretty darn good strategies.
I agree, and I think they need to put Carmen on the bench because he's consistently done no damage the whole season. No offense to him, but he's just not been performing. Whilst we've seen some RU251 players actually doing good damage, he's just been caught out in awkward situations quite a lot. So, and that's one thing they need to do. They need to, he needs to step back and maybe trust his team a little bit to perform. I don't exactly know how the team dynamic is or how the shot calling is going within that team. Obviously, I need to be on the voice comms and understand Polish. I think Utopia against RR. I mean, they seem to lack that poise, that individual ability which they seem to have had in previous seasons, and maybe underestimated RR a little bit.
It's quite possible here. I mean, Rusty Roster actually, when they're going, was getting tougher, then they really turned up, and those players actually seeing them thrive under that pressure and coming out with a very convincing scoreline actually ultimately against Out of Range. So, I mean, interestingly enough, it does seem like Carmen is actually going to be just observing this game here as well. Also, it's hard when you're a caller, and maybe your job is a bit harder when you need to be constantly giving guidance to your team. And the thing is that maybe it's also Carmen's style as well. Like from what we've seen, he's very hands-on when it comes to his calling and instruction as well. So maybe even giving his team some more room to sort of work in their own way as well. You can't put everyone in a grey jumpsuit and tell them to walk back and forth and think that you have a team. You've got to make sure they can let their individual side shine through. Melly, speaking of lovely individuals shining through, of course, I'm going to segue right onto you. I mean, look, voting here as well is always interesting with two teams that have a lot of fans in Poland, of course. Carmen being a well-respected member of the community. I'd love to know exactly where people are starting to vote for this game.
That's actually what surprises me. It's 84% for Utopia, which is really high compared to the teams that face each other. As you said, Polish fans are always very vocal about their favorite teams, and maybe the Out of Range fans aren't here yet because they know the game should have started somewhat around an hour later.
Yeah, it's true. Of course, our schedule is flexible, maybe.
Exactly. 40 minutes later, but well. It's your fault if you just want to watch one game. You get punished because we're faster. So the next time you tune in earlier and you won't miss your favorite team playing. people. The vote is open, as said. Head over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/WGLEU, and get involved. Press the little button above the timeline that says Team Vote. Then you'll get forward to an app where you simply have to choose your team logo of your preferred team and then predict the exact scoreline in the little text field below. Send it off, hope for the best. I still see some 7x predictions. That's not gonna work. 5 is kind of the maximum, so keep that in mind.
Maths.
Yeah, exactly.
It's best of 9, guys. Come on.
Thanks anyway, guys.
Exactly.
When was the last
I saw
time we
like
had best of 13?
Yeah, so we only have it like season finals, the grand finals, that kind of thing.
The best of 13. Yeah, so, oh, God.
But well, there has to be a 5 somewhere. If it's 5-4 or 5-3 or whatever, until 0, everything is possible. Above that, not so much. So, best of luck.
So
All right,
many
guys.
best offs in that sentence.
What's that?
So many best offs.
Yeah,
in
no,
that
best of
sentence.
5, best of
best
luck.
of 13, best of 7, best of luck. Best of luck to these two teams as well.
All right, well, let's... Thanks for that synopsis there, Oliver. He's picked out all the right words for us. We're about ready to jump into game here as well, so let's get things started off with our tank picks. First and foremost, both teams going for the double T110E5, and from there, some differences creep in.
Yeah, so I mean, FE215B, interesting. I think that might be the first or second time we've seen that from I think it's the second time we've seen it on the attacking side, but with 2 on T110E5, you've never seen that before. So super heavy lineup from Utopia, and 2 on T110E5 as well from out of range. On the defensive side, a lot more normal. Batchat, T62A, all that other good stuff is also pretty standard, and of course the Batchat RE251 STBs normal as well from Utopia. So to me, this lineup just looks like it's going to be a full A1 to A3 brawl along those lines, A1 to E1, and whoever comes off better will be the victor. And of course, the rest of the faster tanks from Utopia are pushing towards that Magic Forest.
Absolutely, guys. As Oliver said, whoever wins is going to be the victor. Let's see what happens here now.
Wins between the heavy tanks. God damn it.
I got you, man. I got you. Utopia are attacking in the blue side here, and they'll be spreading out towards the middle of the map here, actually putting double STB and a 251 over in the Magic Forest. However, FE215B and the double T110E5s here, the heavies are going to be working their way inexorably towards his cap, and Kerolf in the Batchat will just be up in that bush for now. And yeah, it looks like, the hold down of the 110E5s here on the attacking side. Utopia wants to go with this one and see if they can maybe put some damage across the board early on. I want to really see if it's actually that good a spot for them to be there. It's a decent incline on that hill for them. Getting their guns right down might be a little tricky.
Yeah, it's not even the problem. I mean, they're hull down. They've got a slight ridge in front of them. Formula can't really penetrate unless he gets lucky onto that cupola on the left side. So this is fine, and they can just peek. They know they probably won't receive any damage. They know that the right side's also safe because they got an RU251 there. And yeah, I mean, to me it looks like Utopia just wants to control this middle section with just a brute force, task force, and then send their faster tanks around the side once they have started that cap. And you can see immediately that has begun, and those light tanks are in suit.
Forbidden has pushed on towards the cap to start things off here, but he may have messed up because there is still the STB-1 off towards the side that can fire at him, and you can see Forbidden's already down fairly low. Piotr would like to come around the corner, but he knows full well that there are a double T110E5 set up on the hill. Now, Papa doing some early scouting here as well. Has lit Ketevan. Kerolf should be lit to him now as well, as he did dodge the first and second shot from Kerolf. You've got to hit those. You really must. Kerolf takes 2 shots in response as well, and he, a bit of a mess up for him there as well. Is going to cost him big time.
Yeah,
3 of the shots missed.
Might even get another one. I mean, the thing is, he's playing a Batchat, and in that situation, you can't shoot on the move in a Batchat. You're just not going to hit anything. Even at close ranges, it can be very bad news. Mucka takes down Ketevan though, so at least the cap's on the way and kind of done his job there for Kerolf. He's spotted the cap, and he's taken down the most important tank. But still, a lot of damage received. 2k, 3k maybe even. And yeah, not good stuff at all.
Milos there fancied a little bit of a peek up on top of that hill, but you can see him by and large, as time goes on, coming off second best here, and it's going to be a second capture as well. Those tanks off towards the eastern side now, starting things up. Out of range have to push in one direction or another, and looks like it's going to be on towards his cap. Forbidden will be the first target. He's going to take a lot of damage as Piotr rounds the corner. Milosh, though, gets double tapped and blown up instantly now. But this is not bad from out of range. They're going to be going to Diabol and Bishu here as well. If these two can bounce some, they'll be happy, but of course the hull of that 110E5, not exactly the best armored thing in the game, and they got the overmatch, the 4v2. Perfect situation. Even Kerov can assist from the side with his Batchat.
Yeah, but what are they going to do about the cap? They got 8 seconds left and about 800 meters to do it in.
Yeah, and they even have some protection there as well, the STBs. I mean, if they get a reset, they'd be lucky too, especially with Shuki, who's going to be able to intercept them. Nice work from Utopia there. Easy as you like, working on 2 fronts there as well. Now, we've seen this sometimes not work. Splitting your forces, this is actually always an advisable thing in World of Tanks.
Yeah.
Why does it work out here for Utopia?
Well, as I said at the beginning, I mean, 3 big heavy tanks sitting up in that northern cap, putting pressure on. You have the 2 T110E5s, hull down at the back. You send two FE215B, which is the tank with the most HP, decent enough armor, that can push forwards, and you know it's not going to die when it does push forwards, like maybe another, AMX-50B might fall in that situation.
Sure.
So you put pressure on the cap, which means the other team has to come forwards and reset. So they got to put some resources there. You have the T110s behind just to sustain through that damage. And then you got the faster forces towards our right side who can put the pressure on the other side. So you need to get an overmatch up north. And and it just doesn't work out for you. And of course, the RU-25 almost went down. Called me Karif as well in that bat chat. Bit careless as well. Got taken down to about 50, 68 hit points. So, yeah, I like that from Utopia. It was pretty smart.
Yeah, it looked pretty classy, actually, to me as well. I mean, the way that they managed to pretty much trash, I think, Ketavan and Karolf on that side of the map, the 39 in the Batchat. I mean, I don't even know how much damage was really done by that Batchat. Karolf did 414, so one shot hit. I mean,
Milos did even less, thanks to Bishu in that T110. I mean, he did 3.3k.
It was spotting those opposite T110s, but wasn't really able to actually do much damage, of course, because when you're in that position,
shot.
Yeah, it's a steep incline, and if you actually want to have a shot from where Milosh was standing or sitting, you have to show your hull. Yeah. You can't get your gun down enough. It's like a steep incline. And then on the other side of the coin, we saw Bishu, of course, in his 110E5, who had a great game, by the way, over 3k damage, and Dival was there as well. They were angled on a little bit of an easier incline, so yeah, they could get shots down. They did sort of easy enough, and I would say they bounced plenty of damage as well. I mean, Bishu actually...
but the thing is, they were in such a strong position, like, you don't even go for the shot against the T110E5 there. They're just not possible to kill. You have to flank them. You have to take them down. And yeah, I like that. I mean, it was really solid tactic there on the attack. And I think out of range, I mean, first of all, they were losing exchanges at the beginning. A little bit careless with that bat chat. A little bit careless with the 1390. So yeah, a lot of things to work on there. And just on that initial round, Utopia is looking better.
So far, so good for Utopia. Out of range... Again, it's a taxing game mentally, and especially it is getting behind early on. A good attacking strategy there from Utopia. And if I was Carmen talking to my team, I'd be like, well, yeah, I guess we just kind of got screwed there. I mean, it's hard to sort of look back at that one as well and go like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. I think Utopia just had a really nice setup here, Oliver. But here come the picks in again, and some artillery for out of range.
Yeah, so the artillery piece, the American artillery piece. Tier 8 Tier 9 American artillery piece. I can't speak.
How you going, man?
You
good?
Being picked up by Dezek, and that's a beast. Very fast, easy to use. Not the most accurate thing in the world, but it does the job. And in the right hands, we've seen it being pretty lethal in this season so far. But much lighter lineup from Utopia. Batchats, Object 140s. Very fast indeed from that defensive side, and that's a really perfect counter to that artillery.
Oh, that thing is looking pretty scary on Dezek. But he's going to have to use it properly, that's the thing. He'll set himself up in towards the north, and we'll just wait and see. But the Utopia almost want to circumvent any parts of the map where artillery has an advantage. Look at them sneaking towards that forest. Kerolf now has to back away. He's already spotted a few of those tanks coming in, so at least some information has been gained. But whether out of range can actually act correctly on this or not remains to be seen. Shuki stops there, wants to take some shots towards Kerolf, but they're blind shots as he does blink out of vision. So Shuki immediately will go on reload and just make sure he's ready for the next engagement.
Yeah, this is super aggressive from Utopia for that right side. maybe predictable because they have got the faster lineup, and perhaps a little bit slow there from out of range to get in the cap. And yeah, Papa using basically all the spotting and camo tricks he has in his book, and doesn't work out for as long as I think he hoped it would, or maybe just exactly as long as he hoped it would, I'm not sure. But Utopia have got one thing going for them. They've got that middle area. That means they can go for the overmatches. It means the artillery piece is basically voided because there's so much cover and hills and bushes and everything there that it's pretty hard to nail a shot.
All right, so they've moved up towards this hill here. This is an interesting little push as, again, Utopia have decided to split themselves up. And Senti and Ketavan have been spotted. Dezek, well, I mean, he's going to be threatened in a moment, and you can actually see a bat chat has been sent back by out of range to stick close to him. Kerov is just really wanting to defend that artillery for as long as he can. I have to see now as the fight does happen over here. It's Ketavan going deep as well. Formula looking for Papa as well. It's not a great fight for him at all to really be taking. Ketavan taking a bit of damage in that tier 9, but he's very durable, of course, in that heavy. Diable does get the finish, but is one shot himself. And Senti was untouched for a lot of that fight here. However, overall, in general, out of range, losing this one out, taking a lot of damage here. They have one extra tank up, though. That's important. But it's Dezek. He needs to really land some shots, and he needs to land them now.
Not exactly sure what Milos is doing in the background. He's peeking, not really doing the damage he could. He probably should have been in there with the fight with Senti, allowing his teammate to go down, and Milos does finally take him out, but Forbidden is still alive.
Yeah, oh my god, that was a massive shot. Was that artillery into the back of that Object 140? But
Must
possibly. Huge amounts of damage. And Muka got wrecked by Kerov, by the way, up and towards the north side of the map. Just absolutely hammered. And now, I mean, Milos in Formula 1 should be okay. I mean, Shukyu in the Batchat can deal with Formula 1, but as one more shot he would have had to use and would have liked it. He just flat up missed it there as well, which is just not good at all. Milos now coming down. They might be able to gang up on him. This actually might turn around for Utopia. They're looking all right. Milos, I mean, he's got Call Me Kerov in support as well. That's important. He has 1,000 health, and he's fully loaded, and Shukyu is not. He's going to chase after them here as well. Bishu didn't even know was coming around the corner, but Kerov, he misses the first shot. That could really hurt him here as he goes lower in health than Bishu even. And Muka, bear in mind, is still alive with 24 points of health, but still a threat because he can still fire from a tank, even if it only has 1 point of health.
Yeah, Shukyu has to go down, otherwise this is game over for sure.
Oh.
And he even finds a shot. Great little teamwork between Shukyu and Muka.
And now Kerov to round the corner, straight in towards Shukyu. I mean, he's got one shot away, but Shukyu's ready to fire. He misses, though, and Kerov gets the finish. It shouldn't have happened. Shukyu should have cleaned him up there. But now, the Mexican standoff. It's a 1v1, but Muka, if he knows what's good for him, would probably come forward here. Can he close the gap with Kerov? I think so. Maybe a blind shot before he does move, but...
No, Kerov is still a lot faster. Once the Batchat gets going, you're talking about 65 kilometers an hour across straight flat ground. And, you know, the STB will be, you know, like 50 kilometers. So the thing is, I mean, Utopia on the defense, so all they have to do is run. So the best position for Muka right now would be in A6. There's like a triple bush there. You can sit behind and basically just be invisible. So as he sits there, he'll get the spots first. And, yeah, Kerov is in trouble.
Kerov has to cap. And there are just so many ways and directions that Muka could come through from. But I will say this. If Muka messes up his shot, he will lose. Utopia will lose this round. You saw what happened. Yeah, I mean, I honestly think if Kerov can...
I reckon Muka could get 2 shots off before Kerov. If Muka plays it right. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, the Batchat...
Aim down time,
accuracy on the move, appalling. So going for the hip shots, is, as we've seen already today from Kerov, is it's unreliable at best. Think of all Katina.
Both of these tanks are spreading out here as well. Kerov maybe needs to be informed that he's on the attacking side. And he has to try and find a cap. Maybe cap number 2 will be his go-to here. But as you can see, look at that cap number 2. There is not a lot of cover on that cap at all. That's a problem. It's going to be tricky for Kerov now. But he can at least have a decent idea of where Muka is probably going to come from. Knowing that he retreated up to the north side of the map here. So Muka... somewhat tricky to flank. I mean, I would go Magic Forest, to be fair, and see if I can spot him from the cover of the trees or maybe push out on that one. Multiple avenues of approach here for that STB, but both these tanks just sitting well back. You can see that Muka right on back, Kerov there. So, just to illustrate that, it might be straight towards him. That is higher level tactics from our observers. But yeah, I mean, we might also see him go around as well. I'd be very surprised if he pushed straight through the guts, but maybe, Oliver, the cover of those buildings might be useful.
Yeah, I mean, he has so many angles to come from. Of course, it's going to be a gamble, regardless. because Kormikarov could just be aiming in a certain direction, and that could be right side, could be left side, it could be middle. I mean, statistically, the middle is the best place to aim. Then you have all the angles covered in the fastest amount of time. So I mean, it's awkward here. Kormikarov just coming off the cap and maybe just his team discussing what should be done. And I think, maybe at the end of the day, there are bushes which Muka can just sit in, be unspotted, and shoot down. And I think it's probably the correct thing to do. Just try and go for the luck of the draw. Whoever can press left mouse button quickly enough is faster. Will be able to win this one, and Muka going straight back to his default position in A1, the most obvious position to sit in.
Well, it is going to come down to that one shot, like you said, and Karov seems to want to opt for the higher percentage play, but Muka is going to be very, very, very hard to see in that position. It's going to have to be Karov getting up right close to him. It's tough. It's really not... the odds aren't really good for this match out here as well, and it's all to do with the fact that he's on the attacking side. He's got to do something. Now, if he goes to cap, it's 90 seconds, and that's plenty of time, really, for Muka to get across the map and go for some reset. So it's hard to really mount any sort of pressure against a defending tank like that when you are so low, and there is so little time. 2 minutes 40.
Yeah, so it looks like Karov going back to the cap. I just saw Senti from OR just pinging towards, I think, K7, K8, or J5, J6, somewhere around there. And Piotr pinging towards K5, K6, maybe a little bit worried that's where Muka comes from. Obviously, that's a hold down position, so he could just peek over there and make the shot. But Cap beginning once again, and just in the nick of time, he can still get this done and dusted, and Muka, team captain actually for Utopia, would be a bit embarrassing if he lost this one. Wouldn't really have anyone else to point the blame at, I guess, in some respects. But, I mean, let's be honest, at the end of the day, this match should have been out of ranges. Like, Mielos playing badly, few bad calls here and there, and, yeah, just disorganization from out of range has put them in this 1 versus 1.
And I don't think Karov is going to see this. He's got his gun, like you said, Oliver, pointed to K5. So Muka can get the drop on him fairly easily. The thing is, Muka knows exactly where Karov is. He has to. There's not a large margin of error on that one, really. It's like you're in that circle somewhere and there's no bushes on it. So you're in trouble when I round the corner. And he's definitely not coming from the direction expected. And I think Karov has, just got his gun pointed in the wrong direction. It's a hard play to make as well. And there's so many possibilities. And it's very, very hard to get into the mind of your enemy team. But yeah, Karov is going to get smacked here.
Yeah, I mean, that is like the most obscure place he could come from. So it's like kind of that logic where you say, okay, where would a random battle player come from? Like completely the other side. But looks like Muka just going to do what I probably would do. Just go hold down here and peek. As long as he doesn't get spotted, he does get the first spot out. Karov hasn't even turned his turret. Easy stuff. Game over. Yeah,
fairly easily played there as well. A high percentage play, I think, for Muka. Yep. Had the cover of the trees going forward, and that's the luxury of being on the defending side, and it's also been the luxury of having won that attacking round already, bringing things to 2-0, and Utopia are off to, I think, a strong start here.
Yeah, I think that was out of range's game. Like, we've seen this from out of range before. They've been getting these rounds, and which they've been losing these rounds, but they should have won. Like in that situation, Mielos wasn't there with Senti going in with the Object 140. He was kind of holding two flanks. I think he could have kept that Object 140 alive. And then Mielos just charges on his own, even though he has Karov in the background, just coming off reload in the bat chat, to go against Shuku, who is also, in that bat chat. He gets absolutely wrecked by the STB-1. And yeah, that was just disastrous. Dezek as well in the artillery only did 915 damage, that one or two splashes.
No direct hits there.
Didn't really work out for him too well. But it was a really close game, and this is the thing, out of range just seems to lack that ability to close them out.
Yeah, I mean, it's early advantages that they're not really forging for themselves. I mean, you see here Dezek, like you said, had a bit of struggles there as well. I mean, some splash damage across, and I don't know, that's a tier 9 artillery you're investing in there. It's no joke, you really want to make it work. And on a map like Murovanka, I don't know what your thoughts are. Is it a bit easier for your team to exploit that and just go somewhere else when you have an all-purpose lineup? Say, well, bugger it, let's just go to the forest and, he can shoot at birds for all we care.
Well, I think at the end of the day, Utopia kind of played into the artillery strategy because the artillery was just sitting up in A3, and let's say Utopia are in like D3. Like that's a easy straight line of a shot, about 300, 400 meters. Like you're going to do some sort of damage at that range unless you just fail miserably. So like they could have easily been a shot onto the engine bay and like some sort of direct hit, which would have taken out modules, would have taken out equipment, made the tank basically useless, not just on HP. But nothing happened there. I mean, yeah, 950 damage. It's not a hell of a lot. T57, T54 wasn't used as well instead of that artillery. So that was definitely Utopia's map. Let's be honest, tactics were better. Individual plays were also better. Lineups were better. And, they're playing this fast style, which seems to be suiting them right now.
Yeah, so I mean, what does that mean about the next map? Steps, then? If we've seen now how Murovanka has treated Utopia, how would you project that a map like Steps would perform for them? Similarly, or?
Yeah, it's a pretty similar map, let's be honest, but I think both teams probably more familiar with this one. It's been, in Season 1, and I think this is where Out of Range has the potential to claw it back. This is, where that artillery pick will definitely work out for them, or has a higher percentage chance of working out for them. Also, Out of Range, I think, have played this map well, whereas Utopia has definitely struggled on it. I've seen some really weird stuff from them before. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this one. I like Murovanka, but I kind of like the familiarity of Steps as well. Tank lineups almost exactly mirrored, apart from that Batchat pick from Out of Range.
And yes, of course, it's going to be Call Me Kerolf on that one. The Object 140 cores and the STB1s here. So doesn't give away too much about either team's strategy, and also to point out, no artillery to be used here as well. And that might be even the fault of Utopia as they are defending on this one. But maybe they don't want to play that defensive. Only time will tell now as we are into our third round of this last game of the night. And Utopia so far have just been looking dominant. Out of Range, maybe just half a step behind, but that's all it has to be to give the wins over to your opponent. Straight through the valley, or towards that direction at least, is where Utopia are heading. Sitting up on that capture point number 2 here. And yeah, I mean, fair enough. We often see these defending teams go valley side, and Out of Range looks like they want to push north.
Yeah, maybe Utopia hoping to find Out of Range somewhere along there, but nothing found so far. And indeed, Ketafan with a great little middle spot sees exactly what Utopia is doing. That gives his team some freedom to go into that cap number 1, or at least get up there soon. The STB though has been boosted up, so this tells us straight away that cap number 1 is exactly where Out of Range wants to be going, sending a Batchat and RU251 back in towards the HJ position. And I like this tactic. I've seen it plenty of times before. Kind of keep your angles covered, make sure the other team can't rotate down south, and then you just put pressure on in the cap with that RU251. Maybe pop an Object 140 in there at some other point in time. And this is a good little counter against Utopia's faster lineup.
Yeah, I have to commend Out of Range as well for going towards this map. They've definitely done their homework and know that this hasn't really been a high point for Utopia in terms of maps that they've gone for. And this might play out in the 754 fashion that we normally see. And how much harder for Utopia now to actually get reliable peaks here with their lineup. I mean, they're not bringing any hull downs in. No 110 E5s just to get shots over, or I mean 232s were the equivalent in 54 format. So I don't know. I don't really feel great about Utopia right now from this position. It just seems standard, uninspired, and kind of vulnerable to a decent setup here for Out of Range.
X-Redat, I think we've only seen him...
Zedat, yeah, once maybe.
But yeah, like even that, I think might be one of his first rounds here. So see exactly how he performs. Good little shot there into Formula 1. But still, I mean, there's no pressure here for an Out of Range. Like, they have that Northern Cat completely locked down if they want it. But they've taken the STB off E1. I just think they have to start capping. Like, they got all the tanks in normal capping position, but no tanks actually in there. So I'm not exactly sure what they want to be doing right now. I guess maybe that RU251 and its pretty poor camo value, camo rating. That they feel like with those STBs they can just get peaked and taken down. But strange stuff here from Out of Range. Maybe with that Batchat down south and Ketafan heading towards there, they want to try and pressure. But if you want to try and pressure the second cap, normally what we see is a team just pushing all together in on one tank, focusing it down, moving on to the next, standard brawl tactics.
It seems like Out of Range aren't confident to actually put a tank on the cap at all yet. I mean, like you said, it's not a good camo ratio for the RU251. So putting onto a cap, maybe it's just going to be lit a little bit too easily, and maybe Utopia don't actually have to extend too far forward, excuse me, to reveal the position of that capping tank. Bishu there. Does cop a bit of a hit there coming in from Formula 1, so he's just going to maybe just change his position a little bit. But there's no pressure being put on Utopia, none to speak of.
Here we go. Finally, Ketavan does put himself in there. Not a man who's had a particularly good season this far. I've seen him at the bottom of those leaderboards consistently through some of the games. First blind shot straight away in Ketavan.
Oh my god, it wasn't even lit.
Loses his nerve and heads straight out the cap. I mean, that's just... I mean, let's be honest, he wasn't lit. It was a blind shot. Should probably just stay in there and keep the pressure.
Yeah, knee-jerk reaction maybe, Oliver, from him to leave the cap.
He's probably like worried about the second or third shot coming in, but these aren't focus fired shots. These are just random shots. So let's say you have like 5 or 6 seconds, minimum 3 seconds to move into another position.
Ketavan would know. He would know that he wasn't spotted, so he knows that it was a blind shot that came in towards him. So for that reason, he probably feels a little bit more comfortable actually pushing back on towards the cap, knowing that his position isn't revealed, and he can now start to mount some pressure up here. Here that's the pressure that we're talking about. It was kind of a foregone conclusion here as well. We're assuming that out of range we're eventually going to try something like this. Their setup doesn't really lend itself to anything else than maybe some wacky sort of push, but unlikely that we would have seen that happen. Milosh is lit. He's attracting some attention towards the front, but Ketavan still not revealed, even with the average camo rating of that RU251. Utopia just aren't able to get close enough to see him.
Yeah, they will have to push, but it won't take very many meters for them to spot him. Seems to me that Utopia's blind shots aren't particularly going that well for them. I always feel like the team should have like an order at which they can get the cap on every single angle, and finally that was forbidden there. Gets spotted, goes far enough forwards, and finds the side of Ketavan once again. So, I mean...
Was that a blind shot on him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, 5 minutes in, cap's been attempted twice. Let's say it's got down to 60 or something. Some good peaks out of range, to be fair. I mean, the HP is still pretty even, but I don't see them being able to cap anymore. Ketavan's a 2-shot, his driver's down. Probably does double repair kit. Like, they need to come up with a strategy, and it looks like with that bat shot, they are going to be pushing along that 5-6 line. I think for the first time we've seen a team do this season.
Might be some risks there, of course, for out of range to go for that one. But yeah, Utopia, again, stave off the pressure. Now I think Ketavan shifts himself onto the cap yet again. But fast-firing STBs can fairly easily get those shots. But what out of range want to do is to make it a little bit more dangerous for Utopia to even peek up and have these shots. You can see they've just formed a firing squad here up on that train line. And they're wanting to punish here. But despite Wicked and Bishu being lit, they haven't taken any damage in these last few peaks that they've made. So there's another shot towards Ketavan. I think it was again forbidden. And Utopia, I mean, they're looking all right here. Out of range can't keep this up. And yep, they have to push.
Yeah, they're going to push straight across. But again, like, they've done some decent peaks. So, okay, they're not onto one specific player, I guess, apart from Muka. But they can go ahead with this. They can push forwards. And, you know, there's only really Bishu there. They do get spotted. You can see a little bit of rotation there. Muka, Papavian, and Shoku going forwards. But, yeah, out of range, not willing to crest that and go forwards. Maybe a little bit worried about McMoney in the background there in the 251.
Well, I mean, maybe even... maybe still too dangerous to put Ketavan back onto the cat. Oh, Milosh out of range, unfortunately. Losing that one tank, getting a bit caught out there as well, going a little bit too far forward. You can see the rest of the setup here for out of range's tanks were not that far extended. And they're here. I mean, Utopia have their own firing squad. They're more than happy to play this kind of game with out of range. They know that out of range are doing this out of desperation. It's not a plan B, it's a plan D or something further down the line here. And it's their final option to really just try and go for this fight. But they're dragging it out. They're not using the element of surprise. They're not using shock tactics. They're just... well, rolling back and forth and trying to make peaks, but it feels like it's a little bit too late in the piece for that.
Well, Karov's coming from a different angle. I mean, yeah, they lost Milos, so like this is going to be super hard for them to win, but I think they were waiting for Karov to come from a different angle, but I mean, let's be honest, they've got the bat chat here, so they've got that burst firepower which Utopia just simply doesn't have, so they could get that tier 10 tank down. I think they should have just pushed into the A6 area before Utopia could reverse those tanks back, but yeah, McMoney has just got the number of Karov now, so they know they can get the two tier 10 tanks overmatch up north, and yeah, that's going to be really hard for them to overcome.
With a minute 55 left in the game, by the way, so really not much time at all for out of range to make something meaningful happen. And again, they just seem so, unwilling to go for the push. And on some levels, I have to respect that, because a lot of teams do this purely out of unimaginativeness or running out of ideas. But I think they might have to go for it now. And see that he's going to be lit up like a Christmas tree now, pushing straight forward. There's going to be a couple of shots coming back in as well, but these tanks are on the move. Utopia or not, they have a static setup, static formation. Karov trying to come in from the side as well, but Shukyu has his number, and so does McMoney, as you said. They're trying to circle around these tanks. Bishu does take 2 consecutive hits here. And Utopia loses some health, but they're able to return some damage now as well. Senti down a half, but still fighting in this bowl makes it a little bit harder for the rest of Utopia to contribute, but there's just too much damage coming. Too much advantage as well going into this fight for Utopia here. And out of range, running out of health points as well.
Yeah, I think, Karov falling at an early stage, definitely not good. And this is going to be Utopia walking away with one, I imagine at least, as Formula and Ketavan in that STB and 251, just Formula 1 remaining.
And he will be pushed on towards, and that will be another game going over towards Utopia. 3-0 here. And we saw a bit of a throwback to the ways of old, the 754 strat on the steps, of course, trying to sneak that one tank on towards the cap and start things off. Does that work anymore? Does it really work anymore with the tanks we have available to people, sight ranges and all those sorts of things?
I think it does work. The blind shots are coming in. I guess the problem is that the teams are using the 251 instead of the T54. There's no 5916, which is a lot smaller. But we've seen, for instance, Penta bring an E25 of Murovanka, and it's not worked brilliantly for them. But, you can still have that tier 7 tank. It's just only 1 tier below tier 8. Yep. Great camo value you can put in the cap. Okay, you kind of give the game away a little bit. Maybe the team will be able to counter that with a counter strategy. But so be it then. Come up with a different tactic. I thought, out of range, they got the position for the cap. They didn't go in the cap for ages. Then they did. They got scared a little bit there. Some blind shots went towards Ketavan. I think ultimately they needed to put more in there. Like we seen, a 251 being put in.
More in the cap?
See if the other team comes forwards, yeah. And then they send like an object 140 or 2, and then just put so much pressure on the other team. It doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at the end of the day, it's better than doing what they just did there, which is sit back and then kind of go for a half-ass push at the end.
If you're going to set up like that, put one tank in the cap and force your enemy to sort of poke up, how could you best punish them for those peaks? Because we saw like 5 tanks for out of range set up on that train line to try and actually put some damage towards those STBs peeking up, and it just did not work out for them. They got no damage done, and Ketavan got taken down to a one-shot, and now we're screwed.
Well, to be fair, the only one who can actually shoot is Formula 1, and he did 3.8k damage. He's the only guy who's on that high position which he can shoot down and get the peaks against those STBs. So he did the work. But then, you had this setup where out of range was sitting in A6, all sitting there
on the train line.
They could have just pushed straight. They could have pushed straight up A6, A7, and then gone into that trench area and actually engaged like they did at the end. But instead, they wait until Milos, who's just no man's land in the object 140. Bam! All of out of range's tanks, they fall back, peek, take him down in one volley, and then Karov, who was kind of flanking around. I don't think that was necessary. I think they could have just gone for a brawl. The better team wins. And I think with that bat chat, they would have had the edge.
Senti with 150 odd damage in that game, by the way. So that's RAM. And that was it. Not ideal. Anyway, take picks here as well. Almost identical, except Utopia go for the AMX 30 here. But apart from that, that's pretty similar stuff here. It's going to be Utopia now on the attacking side. And like we said before, Oliver, as well, it's a team that maybe has struggled to bring some true innovation to steps in that last season. Didn't suit them all that well, I think. Their play style didn't always allow for it to sort of be their strength. But now, new format, new approach, and a bit of a new look Utopia as well. As they've been definitely managing to pip a lot of these teams to the post this season. What will they try and do with it? Will they go to the north and try and do this again themselves? We might see a boost here as well from out of range.
Yeah, it looks like Call Me Piotr, Formula Karov just absolutely screwed that one up. You can get that boost a lot faster if you kind of get like the staggered ram.
Yeah.
You get them
one after another.
Exactly. But this is another way of doing it. It takes a little bit longer. Call Me Piotr will find his way up there, and he'll be able to shoot over to cap number 1, cap number 2. Blind shots will be able to come out. It's a decent position. We've seen it used time and time again. But it does take quite a lot of time, and in that time, Utopia have got themselves up towards that northern cap.
Yeah, they wasted no time in pushing forwards here as well. Out of range seemed to be a little bit more uncertain about how they were going to set this thing up. But Utopia, they know what they want, and it's going to be heading towards the train lines. Mac Money just going for a cheeky blind shot there as well, seeing if he can spot anything, and they actually will boost themselves. Ooh.
Yeah, so we've seen this boost, I think, twice in Season 1. And it looks like Out of Range is aware of this boost as they are just blind shotting across. But I think they think it's on a little bit too far to the right, actually a bounce on the back of them. But some damage finally coming in, and to be fair, they can actually do a lot more damage. It bounces left, right, and center onto those STBs. Obviously, the APCR, not particularly high penetration at this kind of range.
Oh my gosh. Well, Out of Range, good blind shots here as well. Bishy's getting absolutely whacked. And even Papa going up towards the top as well. This is not good for Utopia. Not good.
I guess the problem here for Out of Range is that they can't see that their shells are disappearing at that range. Like, they disappear, and that's how you know they have hit the other tank, but it's pretty hard at that range. And yeah, Bishu taken down to half HP. Good prediction for an Out of Range. Like it.
Yeah, they belted that hillside. I think they're probably still doing it right now as well because nothing else has really revealed itself to them. No one from Out of Range is being spotted. So, you know, they can guess with a fair degree of certainty exactly what's happening. So the 30B actually being pushed up here as well. And, I mean, interesting choice. So I guess that's the tier 9. Is it the tier 9? No. 30B. It's a tier 10 French medium, isn't it?
The 30s are tier 9.
30B though.
Yeah, it's tier 10.
Yep.
The new French tier 10 medium. Yeah.
Oh, interesting use of that one there.
We've seen it before.
Yes, a couple times. Yeah.
It's a good. I mean, I like it. It's a good tank.
Well,
Better. I mean, it's pretty fast. Good rate of fire. Good turret armor. The MX-30 is a tier 9, just without the B.
Yep. Yeah, the MX-30 prototype or whatever it's called. All right, so Mac Money's on the cap here as well, and Shukyu actually has already put himself a long way forward, and you can see Out of Range they spread here to set up their lines for making peaks over towards that cap. But Mac Money so far will be able to, well, just sit for now. I mean, blind shots are always going to come in here, but this is the ridge that right here. This is the ridge that Utopia were making their blind shots from. So, I mean, you can actually see the Out of Range opting to spread a couple tanks down towards the south as well. They'll eventually have a host of tanks there to do exactly what Utopia did back to them. But again, it's a bit unimaginative, Volley, this same sort of strategy here. I'd like to see maybe, you know, if Utopia maybe we're going to be ready for this aggression coming out. Oh, Muka there, shot towards Milosh. Everyone piles up as he slams the brakes on Risiek as well. Does see Muka up in the distance, but there's the damage coming down. Milosh takes a hit, and Muka is in such a strong position up on that hill.
Yeah, a nice little position. It's going to make it very hard for those tanks to flank, and I think Out of Range, you know, they managed to predict where he would be in terms of the blind shots, but nothing else. Bounce on the back of that engine bay. Bit of an awkward angle there, but McMoney will probably end up having to leave this cap. Not spotted quite yet, but knows he will be, and if he does get spotted, he will almost undoubtedly fall. But great start here for Utopia. I mean, they're winning the exchanges, and Ketavan is getting taken to the park by, I believe, Papa Pavian on the hill.
Yep, taken to the junkyard it might be. I mean, Utopia are doing a far better job of what Out of Range we're trying to do as well. Mac Money, having taken no damage on the cap as well, you notice that. It's like Out of Range didn't have the patience to keep going for those blind shots. You can see even the ammo depot on the cap is still up, so that hasn't even been shot. Now some more blind shots are coming through, but Mac Money, yeah, he's free to start this one off again. Out of Range have already had to give up one of those tanks as well, and he's just been eaten at 251. So now, I mean, this is where the investments start to get a little bit more costly for them as well if they want to continue to spot that tank. And Papa, of course, being up on that hill, Ollie, means that he can really punish those STBs for peeking up towards Mac Money.
Exactly. I mean, the fact that he managed to actually get him on the hill is fantastic. And Out of Range, you know, bouncing like 5 or 6 shells as he was boosted up is not good. But still, I mean, the game's not over. Definitely the defensive side is, you know, and the easier, at least in the mindset kind of way, to win. But still, I think Utopia might get a little bit impatient here and perhaps push Wicked or Forbidden through the middle or down south. And that will obviously cost them the game. But I only see the only obvious move for Out of Range is to push along the C6 area. Just try and get McMoney down as quickly as possible, or just push the A6 area like we've seen some other teams and go for that train line.
Well, here we go. They are going to push forward. Oliver, exactly as you said it. Maybe they're realising it's one of their only options left. But Bishu's already taken down, Piotr as he pushes forward. Kerhoff is going to try and go over the hill, but Shuki's there. Yeah, he's lit him enough. He's also seen Mac Money, so brilliant. They've spotted that 251, but they're just going to be walking into the fire here. Shuki there was set on fire, actually, for a brief moment there as those shots came in, but even Wicked off towards the side. Out of range, just walked straight into this one as well. And they probably knew that. Didn't really have any more options left as well. They just didn't hit the blind shots. I don't get it. Mac Money is still so healthy and out of range. We're just not able to reset that cap at all.
Yeah, and Papavian's also so healthy. You can see he's doing some good work even into the middle of that map. And finally, I mean, that was a pretty slow game, but Utopia, with probably the most one-sided round we've had this matchup, do walk away with their 4th round in a row. Excellent stuff.
So same approach from both teams on the attacking side here, it's safe to say.
Yeah.
Going for their Northern Cap, sneaky 251 on there. The big point of difference, though, Ollie, was what?
Well, you had, in the previous round, you had Formula 1 in that STB in A6 or something, you know, shooting down, getting some good shots. But then you had the difference is that Papavian was boosted all the way up. Yeah, okay, I do feel a little bit sorry for out of range because, like, 5 or 6 or maybe even more, yeah, let's say 5 or 6 max actually, heat rounds bounced on those tanks. Bit unlucky for them. Obviously, he doesn't use penetration over distance, so, you know, it's a bit unfortunate. But maybe just aiming at the wrong place. I don't know exactly how that one worked. But
a little bit too far to the right, actually.
A little bit too far to the right at the beginning, and then a little bit too high up on the tank. I think that's a common mistake. A lot of people, when they blind shot, they shoot too far up. So Papavian got the hill. Like, that's a perfect spot to shoot basically anywhere on the map. He got 3 kills with 3,000 damage here, so he did fantastic work. And then out of range decided to push the 6 line, push straight across. You had tanks on the right, you had tanks on the left. Like, that's going to be a chicken shoot. I think what they should have done is pushed A6, A7, and pushed across into that, like, bowling area of the train lines. I think even Papavian would have struggled to shoot down on top of them.
Okay.
And maybe they would have been able to shoot up. Obviously, the AMX-30B has got great, I think, like 8 or 9 degrees of gun depression, so it might have done, maybe not. But he would have been safe for most of the tanks.
I mean, we can see out of range were denied any push towards the south as well. I mean, we saw, I think they're pushing 2 tanks in that direction, and Morka was sitting up on the hill like, all right, bros, let's go. You know, they were forced away. So great little lockdown there from Utopia. Complete denial there for out of range. Melly, I want to hear about this vote because it's just been all about Utopia over these last few rounds. The vote started off relatively even, but I mean, it's really been all about Utopia these last few rounds.
Well, actually, the vote started up with 80% for Utopia.
Oh, that's right. Sorry,
the
we said the last one.
Even was before, but not doesn't matter. We didn't expect that anyways.
No.
That was so heavily Utopia sided, but the vote now haven't changed much. 78% is still a lot compared to, of course, out of range with 22. But yes, the vote has closed, and not too many people actually predicted the 5-0. There were more going for, even if more people predicted a win for Utopia, there were kind of, well, you can say hoping at this point for a more even match and with more rounds. I mean, it can still swing, but with Utopia now sitting pretty on match point, they only have to close that 1 round and to finish that match. And out of range, on the other hand, has to go 5 in a row, which is, well, looking on their former performance.
I mean, yeah. I think
gonna happen.
It's never happened.
No.
I think it happened once last season, that's it.
A full reverse sweep?
I don't think we even had a full reverse sweep, to be honest, even last season.
Well, I can remember something like that. I don't know if it well,
maybe 1, like I do have a faint memory of maybe 1 happening, but like 4-0, it's so hard to come back from. We're moving on to Utopia's map. Yeah, it's going to be super hard.
I mean,
I feel like out of range is a team, sorry for interrupting you, that kind of loses their morale pretty quickly. I mean, if they lose 1 round, it goes downhill from there. That's how it feels, at least for me.
That's how the games have gone.
World of Tanks professional.
Well, you know Carmen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he like passion sometimes is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So, we can only speculate about that really as well, but the guy really cares a lot about the game, and he not a fan of losing either, of course. I remember...
He's very competitive. I mean, you have
Yes.
to be at this point, but putting too much pressure on your team sometimes, tends to go the other way.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think it almost always does. I mean, here's the thing, right? Next map is Ghost Town.
Yep.
And, Out of Range have played this 3 rounds of this, and I've lost every single one of them.
Yeah.
So it's not a good outlook for them at all. And it's also Utopia on Ghost Town, who are just really good at the map. So, I mean, here's your tank picks, guys, and bear everything in mind here as well. And I find it interesting that the 2 IS4s are being picked up here for Utopia, Ollie.
Yeah, so, it's a good, nice little heavy tank. Great side scraping, good at keeping positions. The Object 140s, FE215, BZ100s, and that artillery, which we've been seeing quite frequently on this map on the defensive side, which is where Utopia have got it. So it looks to me like Utopia are playing statically. They're going to be holding those long alleyways. They're going to be trying to funnel out of range into them and then just use the artillery to punish them. But yeah, I mean, apart from, I don't know, maybe against Kazza crew, Utopia have loved this map.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be feeling pretty confident to back them going into this one here. Of course, Utopia now, as I said, double IS4, 1E100 and 2 FE215Bs, and Papa in the M40, M43. And he will set himself up towards that C line there as well. I mean, yeah, he can maybe even move up towards towards A1 and shoot down one of those diagonals here. But the way this map works out is that there are plenty of opportunities for those artillery to make some hits. So out of range here, got to be pushing up in towards the middle, tentatively, might I add, with Piotr and Senti there in the E100s at the 4. Milos and Piotr were spotted. Senti goes for a weird shot while he's backing up on the move. He's not even going to come close, as Muka is quite safe where he is. And out of range now, need to start thinking about this one. They really do. I mean, the problem is, Oliver, they don't have a T-54 or an RU. They don't really have the capacity to gain really much information at all. And that artillery shot from Papa, he already put in the hurt down. And this is out of range. They can't play static when a Papa's going to be able to have information. He's got the lights. Here's a shot in from Forbidden, and this is not looking good already.
Yeah, I mean, Utopia have been Kazza on this map, so out of range is not exactly going to be having much of a chance. You can see Papa. Great position, normal position. I mean, Ketevan should have known that's where he would probably be sitting. So right now you're talking about, 1.5k damage already going in favor of Utopia. That's like almost a tier... That's a tier 8 tank, let's be honest here. But they are starting to push in one direction, maybe get a little bit desperate. And they were going to go on to Wicked and Milos, who's sitting on their own. Wicked, who's sitting on his own there in the FE215B. So it might not be a bad call, but he will be able to hold fast with Diabol in the back.
My God, Ketevan got smashed as well from that shot. He lost his driver as well. Just too many modules to try and repair. And there it is again. That was another artillery shot coming in. And Kerov now is the recipient. Beautiful work by Papa. Already laying down 1.6k damage. Kerov in a 50B as well. Man, he's not even going to have enough time to get all those shots off. But he's going to push together with Formula 1. Wicked bounces. He might need some backup here as well. I don't really think he's going to get it.
Well, yeah, I think he does. He's got backup in the background. Call Me Kerov is a one-shot, but of course, with that artillery piece, they're not going to be able to hold positions for that long. But to be honest, out of range haven't really been that aggressive going forwards.
Well, Kerov there in Formula 1. Shuki looking for Kerov. Get the pick off on the 50B that's on reload. Why the heck not? Formula 1 as well. Should be still on reload himself. So great time to come in and get the assassination there. And Shuki fancies to stay around a little bit here. Use the hull of the 50B in front of him. Use the heart head of the 140. Not
but he
as
can't
hard
die either.
Yeah. Well, not work to a full clip. I mean,
no.
Yeah.
So he can easily get this 1 versus 1 because there's no support from the rest of his team. So fantastic work there from Shuku. But the problem here is Forbidden and Muka. They are 3 versus 1 right now.
Oh dear, it was a Diabol. Look at him going forward there. Milos out towards the back, he's the one shot. And there's Diabol and Bishu now to push around the corner as well. They're going to find the rest of these out-of-range tanks, and they are well within range. I'll give you the big tip. It's just 2 left. Senti trying to make a shot towards Forbidden. He'll hit it, but to what end, really? You can see that Piotr is just going to be in a world of hurt right now. And there's Senti backing right up. Shuki coming alongside him, putting the damage in, and this is over. This really is another 5-0 for out of range. Having a nasty start to the season as well. I mean, the most interesting game we see from out of range might be up against Strong Siema at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, that's harsh criticism for it. But yeah, to be honest, you're right. This is the Silver Series #1 team coming in right now with their 3rd or 4th loss in a row. I think we saw potential right at the beginning when they went against Ding and had that tiebreak, I believe. Ding or I think it was Ding, yeah. So right now, yeah, a bad stuff from them. Out of range really need to get themselves sorted. And I just looking at out of range, like for me, one of the biggest issues is that in those 5 rounds, they made 4 roster changes. And I think, the best teams in the world are these teams which have the same 7 players every single round, and they have one backup player who's always there, who's always reliably there, who can also step in and be, 99.9% of the other players.
Well, I mean, yeah, then there's Tornado Rocks who have 7 players and no backup, and then when they miss one player, we sit here for 20 minutes and wait.
We sit here for 20 minutes and wait, and yeah, they get. We have rules for that.
Yes, so we have rules for these kind of things. So I mean, look, here it is. Another 5-0 that obviously Carmen and crew are facing down. And being new to the league is no excuse because Oops is sitting in 3rd place right now.
True.
Sorry.
And KB.
Yeah.
Sitting well as well.
Yeah, so I mean, both those two teams have showed that they've been able to, face up to the challenge of being in the Gold Series and run with it. But unfortunately, out of range, maybe just going to be a little bit of a late bloomer in that regard, if at all. Melly.
It feels like Utopia last season or the season before. Do I mix it up?
Season before.
Season before, yeah. Yes. It's funny. But well, people, the vote ended with 78%.
4K from Papa, by the way, just before.
Damage? Wow,
Yeah.
that's gross.
Correct.
That hurts. I hurt watching, to be honest. But yes, if you just tuned in, sadly, the last match of the night has just finished, people. Well, the VODs of this one will be available over at youtube.com/WGLEU within the next few days. Also, the team vote winners of match day 3, match week 3 and match week 4 have been announced. Check at WGLEU on Twitter to see the announcement, or directly on Facebook, the very first posting of regarding play day, match day, to see who the winners are. Please contact us via private message to get your bonus code. Congratulations at this point. And I don't even know if someone got it right this time. Quickly check. Besides that, I want to say thank you for getting involved that much. And exactly 2 people got the right prediction for this
Just 2?
last. Yes. I wouldn't have expected as well.
No, I don't think anyone really. It's just.
I mean, against Kazakh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. I think what is when you see like these, mid to lower table, well, Utopia are fairly high up to be fair, but when it's not number 1 versus number 12, people are just not willing to go 5-0 on that.
Yeah, but then you see against Kazakh, like technically the better team, they lose to technically the worse team, worser team, if that's the word, this season. Like it's a 768. I feel like there's so much unpredictable factors that you have got to take into account. Specifically, like how an individual player is performing that day. And just things we've never seen before. Like,
yep.
Just sometimes teams seem to turn up on certain match days, and sometimes they don't, and things go really badly. Whereas, like if you're in 754 or 742, a good team is going to have a good game, regardless if it's been a bad day for a certain player or not.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just quickly recap the scores from tonight so you know exactly how things went down. And it was an interesting one, a quicker night, I guess it's safe to say. But Kazakh crew really dropping the ball there.
Yeah, I feel like after that first round on Prokhorovka, we saw disjointed tactics perform badly and individual mistakes. I think that's my 3 words I'm going to say there. But Tornado Rocks finally getting on to be a good team. Let's hope they continue this run. They've had a loss and a tiebreaker win so far, which is definitely not what they want to be doing. They want to be getting a clean sweep. Strong team at Ding. Let's be honest, Ding is on the up and up. I think they're going to be a top team this season. They've certainly done that in this first half, performing well against the top and the bottom of the table. They just need to get that consistency on the reg. Utopia out of range. I think Utopia cementing themselves as such a good team. They played badly against RR. They fixed those mistakes, and out of range, just unable to close rounds which they should have won, unable to perform tactics well, and just I feel like we're. It's not like out of range is a bad team. I feel like they're just performing badly. I feel like they've got something systematically wrong, intrinsically wrong within the team.
You don't win Silver Series by being a bad team.
Exactly.
Simple as that. Let's have a look at the ladder now and see how things have changed after today. And, well, not a lot really. Kazakh crew, of course, recording their first loss. And Ding with that win there as well. So it actually takes those teams to an even pegging. Of course, Tornado having got their win now, being on 11 points, they would actually move up and towards third. But that will be updated, of course, when everyone's played their games. Apart from that, Utopia as well on 7. They would actually put them up towards 6th place, I think, here as well. So obviously the orders would be changed now with the points coming in, but you can at least see that there on the ladder for you. And Stroxima, yeah, I mean,
I feel bad because Out
points.
of Range has also got Utopia's logo. It's like, you've been done twice. You've been stitched up twice there, in my opinion.
Wrecked, Carmen. We do it all on purpose for you, mate. Let's have a look at the games coming up on Thursday evening. Of course, a little bit of a longer wait for you guys now, purely because we started things off earlier this week. So, Oliver, I mean, you've got some interesting games there as well. Another chance for Kazna playing this week, and Oops and Ding, actually, which, given where they both sit on the ladder, promises to be quite the interesting match.
Yeah, I would say that's going to be a good match. I think maybe even the better one. But every single time I say, oh, this match is going to be the best match of the day, it always ends up being like a 5-1 or a 5-0. So I'm going to stop saying that. Rusty roster, I mean, some bad performances, some good performances. KB haven't played for a while. Have to see how we do there. And we're getting towards that Christmas break, you know, where family obligations come in. And that could also play a factor into these games. Strong Siema Kazna. I mean, Strong looked better today, let's be honest, a lot better, and they do seem to be improving. I hope they continue doing that. And Kazna looked bad, so maybe that's going to be an interesting match, but of course, Kazna Crew the clear favourites.
Without a doubt. Well, that about wraps things up here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here on this Monday night special. We hope you enjoyed this show, and we also hope you join us again on Thursday night. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, good night, and we'll see you soon.